guys, welcome to another one of the special episodes here. We have a Codex review of Death Watch.
The second half of the Death Mask, I believe.
Yeah, so there's also some there's some Death Watch stuff in the Death Mask as well, except we'll probably touch on that towards the end of the video, but this, for now, we're just going to kind of run through the Codex itself.
Yeah.
So we're kind of start off here with the HQs. So you have first Watchmaster. He's pretty beefy. He's expensive though, 175 points, but he's basically decked out. He's also got 4 wounds, which is pretty nuts.
4 wounds.
Yeah.
Oh man.
2-up save. He by default allows you to change the mission tactics again, which is a special Death Watch rule. We'll cover.
Yeah, we'll cover that more. It comes up pretty often though.
Yeah, we'll probably cover that as soon as we get out of the HQs. We're going to what that's on. Has a other oddity which is called a clavis, which basically lowers every relevant stat of a vehicle by 1. So it's pretty useful. And then, of course, he has his Iron Halo. And finally, he kind of has the pretty cool weapon that's in this, or one of the really cool weapons that's in this. However, he's the only one who can actually have it, so it's quite interesting. But it's basically a bolter with this attached to a spear. Yeah. Anyways,
You kind of get remember the whole meme about Imperial Guard. Making bayonets and attaching to their guns. It's like that, but 100 times better.
So what it is, it's +1 strength, 2-handed, AP2, and all this is at initiative.
Yeah,
so he's got 4 attacks, so that means he's got 5 attacks with that on the charge at strength 5 AP2, which is pretty nuts. It also has a special rule called block, which is basically you can pick a single attack out of any attack that's coming after you out of one roll, and if that one hits, you get the option to roll, and I think it's on a 6.
Is that on assaults or in any phase?
Any phase. So he can block shooting shots too, and if he rolls a 6, the attack is discounted, so there's no roll to wound for it. Anyways, so yeah, he's pretty good, but he's definitely going to be pricey. He's also outside of a CAD, or specifically the I don't know, it's the Black Spear Strike Force. It's actually pretty hard to bring him. A lot of the formations kind of limit you out of the Watchmaster. So if you want him, you're going to be bringing a CAD, which is a little bit awkward with the Death Watch. We're getting to that here shortly.
You'll see why.
Or the Strike Force. The Strike Force is fine too, and we'll go over that formation eventually too. Watch Captain is the next one. That's basically going to be your company master / force commander, captain dude. He's the stereotypical priced as such Marine commander that you always have in all your books. Don't have too much to say special about him. All of his usual rules are here. Of course, what he does have, as well as, by the way, the Watchmaster, is they have access to special ammo, which will include Inferno, Kraken...
Dragonfire?
Yeah, Dragonfire. And we're going to what all those do later, but those vary based on what the weapon they're in does. So, depending on what you select for him, he will always have access to those, and they can be in bolt pistols, bolt guns. Basically, if it has bolt in the name, you can use it.
You can use it for that.
Anyways, he can also be equipped with a jump pack, so you can he can be in an assault squad. And then the other sort of unique thing he can get that's kind of unique to Death Watch is a weapon called the Xeno Phase Blade.
What is the Xeno Phase Blade?
Why
don't I like it?
It's honestly, I actually feel this is probably a little bit overpriced. It's basically just a power sword, right? Which is normally 15, but this one's 25. And unless you're fighting an enemy that has a lot of AP3 with lots of invulns, which I guess Harlequins. So if you're fighting Harlequins, it's probably good.
That'd be an interesting match.
But what it does is it forces any successful invuln save made against it to be re-rolled. So, but it's only AP3, so it's not like it's good against Terminators or something like that. But it basically comes down to if you're fighting something that has a lot of, like demons. It'd be good against demons too, because they use their 5-up invuln save.
Kill Chaos.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos has enough problems, but sure, let's add that sword to it. Yeah, but yeah, that's the sort of special weapon that he gets access to, and of course he has access to relics. So I figure since we're on this, the librarian will have it too. So we're going to cover.
The librarian was next up, wasn't he?
Chaplain actually, but there's not a lot to say about him. So the relics that you can choose from, you have Bane Bolts of Erixia, which are essentially another special ammo type you can use. In a bolt pistol, it's just strength 5, AP 4 kill shot. So kill shot is on a roll of 6, it's instant death on a wound.
Bolt gun looks like it's similar, except a bit of a longer range.
And you also lose your rapid fire with the bolt gun.
Yeah.
It becomes just 24-inch strength 5, AP 4 assault 1. So you lose your ability to get 2 shots if you use this, but it does have that kill shot special rule. It's probably decent if you're fighting monstrous creatures or something, but otherwise you may not really think about it.
I don't like the other option coming up.
The Stalker is definitely where this is meant to be used. It is 30-inch, a sniper, so AP 4 and heavy 2. So you get 2 shots, wounding on 4s, and 6s are instant death. That's probably where you're meant to really use this, is if you have a Stalker pattern weapon, but otherwise. Then we kind of come to probably one of the best relics in this. Well, out of a lot of relics, this relic is pretty crazy.
I imagine he'll be using
It's called
this
the
relic.
Beacon of Angelus. It's only, I think, 20...
Right here?
Oh, right. Those the Bane Bolts of Erixia, which we just covered, 10 points. Beacon is 30. This thing is completely worth it if you can find the points for you to do it. It essentially lets you, at the beginning of movement phase... Well, for 1, it acts as a normal teleport homer. For 2, at the beginning of... You can do this once per game. At the beginning of a movement phase, you can essentially say, this unit over here is going to disappear and reappear over here. And this works even if that model is locked in, in close combat. So you could essentially pull, like, your vet squad that has a bunch of heavy bolters out of close combat and set them next to your
somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a pretty cool ability to be able to just pull any unit on the table over to you.
It does have to be within 6 inches of the character.
Well, when you place it.
No,
when you place it.
That's true.
Yeah. Otherwise, but that's only not to scatter too. I think they can be placed anywhere. Otherwise,
I think they can place anywhere within 6 inches of the bearer, and no scatter.
Oh no, yeah. Whenever they're picked up off the table, they do have to be within 6 inches of the guy wielding it. Or at least the first model has to be placed like that. All right, next we have the Dominus Aegis, which is 20 points here. Essentially, it's just a 4-up invuln save if you don't move. So if you choose not to move, you have a 4-up invuln save. I think you already have Iron Halo on the captain.
Yep.
Yeah, so you probably just won't pick it on him, but maybe on another one. I don't know. It's one of the less good ones, I guess.
And 20 points. It's kind of... Maybe you could save the points for the Beacon of Angelus. Go with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
if you have 10 points free. Then you have Osseous Key, which I think is also 10. No, it's 15. This one it's basically a better version of the Clavis, which gives -1 to all the stats, right? The thing is, after you've assaulted a vehicle, so this is after like punching maybe a walker or whatever, after you've made all your rolls... so after you've made all of this model's rolls, you roll an extra dice. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 or 3, the model takes an automatic glancing hit, and on a 4 to 6, it is an automatic pin hit.
So you punch a vehicle in the face.
Yeah. So
this gives you extra stuff.
Even if you couldn't normally hurt a vehicle, this essentially would let you injure the vehicle. So this isn't too bad. 15 points, a little bit pricey, but it's still, especially if you're worried about your enemy having a lot of walkers, this would be pretty good.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, no, you have monstrous creatures because yours aren't walkers.
I have monstrous creatures, and I also have my Skyray that
Yep.
I would like to use, and I'm kind of terrified of. I'm terrified of that.
So next we have Thief of Secrets. I think this is 20 points. I think this is probably overpriced for what it is. Thief of Secrets is essentially just a power sword that anytime it inflicts an unsaved wound, the model essentially gains Fleshbane against that type of creature. So if it wounds a Space Marine, it would get Fleshbane Space Marine essentially. So it wound on 2s. It's all right. It's specifically it's probably good versus monstrous creatures. If
Carfax.
yeah, if your opponent has a Carnifex or something, he causes 1 damage to it, and then he's always wounding it on 2s at AP3, which is pretty scary. But again, you have to actually get. I don't know. It's 20 points. I just think it's a little bit much, but I mean it's only 5 points more than a normal power sword. So essentially, if you're going to put a power sword on anyways, you may as well take this for 5 points.
At least the only good thing for it with me is that it's on melee range, and I'll
Hopefully never be there, right?
that's the hope with Tau.
Alright, and then the last is a 10-point upgrade. It's called a Tome.
Tome of Ecto.
Yeah, so basically, as we said, you have special mission tactics. This will let you pick one. Yeah, at the start of each turn, you can pick one, and the bearer and the unit with him will automatically get that. So normally you can only switch them every so often, and this kind of lets whoever the watch captain or whoever has this is with to basically pick and choose which special ability they want every turn.
I know we're going to talk about mission tactics a little later on, but they're really interesting, and it feels like one of the most special things about Death Watch is the ability to use the kind of mission tactics.
I mean, they're rather simplistic, but the reason they're not, I wouldn't say they're bad, is because they stack with a lot of other formations and the kill teams and stuff like that. So, real quick, moving on to the chaplain. He's just a basic chaplain. I honestly can't really see why you would necessarily bring him with Death Watch. I mean, essentially, you're just bringing him to give Zealot same price as your watch captain, and the watch captain is going to be better in every way except for Zealot. So I just don't see Chaplain really finding use here. Maybe I'll be wrong, and it's entirely possible I am. But I feel like if you're going to bring a second HQ, it's probably going to be a librarian, not a chaplain. But, yeah, you never know.
I have to say, pretty much I definitely agree with him. I'm not really sure, considering all the kind of stuff that you could get with the watch captain, or if you're really, really willing to spend the money and you have, and you're at a high enough point level, the watch master over a chaplain, especially when you're working with this kind of Space Marine school.
I mean, on that note, I think if you can have the watch master, I think he's an auto include. He's just, his stats are that crazy. So and he's basically already upgraded with everything you would need, so you don't really even need to buy him anything, so it's just a flat 175.
The shotgun spear is pretty cool too.
Yeah. So it's a bolt gun on the end of the spear, not a shotgun. But yeah. So that brings us to the final HQ? Yeah. Final HQ.
There's
librarian.
not a lot of HQs there.
Oh, 4. There's quite a few. And then there's also, of course, Artemis as well from Death Mask, which he's essentially just a watch captain here that has some very specific upgrades. He has one special rule that gives him he can substitute all of his attacks to make a attack that if he misses he kills himself, but if he hits he kills the opponent. So it's an all or nothing attack type thing. So yeah, that's kind of his
duel to the death.
That's kind of the claim to fame for Artemis. And then I think he automatically gets the Warlord trade that lets him switch mission tactics an extra time. All right, so Librarian, basic standard librarian, basic usual upgrades that you have to choose from. He can bring in Terminator armor, of course. He has a wide variety of powers you can choose from. He can go with Biomancy, Daemonology, Divination, Fulmination, Geokinesis, Librarius, Pyromancy, Technomancy, Telekinesis, and Telepathy.
How many different versions of Psyker powers are there in general?
Out of them, he probably hits about 75%. So,
I hate the Psyker phase.
well, this is actually a little bit unusual for Space Marine Psyker. So this is actually worth mentioning. But yeah, this is relatively unusual for them. Normal stat line though, otherwise for Librarian. But yeah, you basically can pick whatever psychic ability tree you want, and yeah, there's nothing else too much to say. Psychic powers are good, and you can choose from whatever you want here, essentially.
Not only that, I'm actually not as surprised as I was, mostly because I'm not, as you guys may know, I don't play a race that does a lot of Psyker stuff. But considering Death Watch, and if we want to go a bit into the fluff here, the fact that they are specialized veterans in destroying aliens, I'm not surprised that they would have very much special things, including some Psyker abilities that may not have been available to other less.
Well, I think all Space Marines. I think what they have available, all Space Marines can have access to, but not necessarily all at the same time. So essentially, Death Watch kind of lets you, pick whatever you want. Essentially,
all to kill cute little aliens like me.
Yeah.
Xenos.
So that brings us to our troop choices. So first, let's go over the special ability here that essentially all the faction have. So they all have... Jeez, where'd it go? Okay. So they all have what's called mission tactics. So
we've mentioned a few times previously.
So at the start of the game, you pick one of these tactics, and you can switch the tactic one time. There's ways to actually increase that up to 4. For example, the Watchmaster, if you bring him and it's part of that black tip spear strike force, they get an extra 1 automatically, and then you can bring that relic that'll give you an extra 1.
Chance. There's a warlord trait,
and then there's a warlord trait. So you could potentially be able to do this 4 times, which is pretty crazy. But here's what the tactics are. You can essentially choose from let's see.
Führer tactics.
Yeah, Führer tactic. It is you can reroll any to hit rolls of 1. Venator tactics. You can.
So the specific about these mission tactics is that it's dependent on the squad type you are planning on facing most of the time. So for Führer tactics, is to reroll any hits of 1 to troops.
Then you have the same. We don't need to go over all the names, but essentially you have the option to enact that to reroll hits of 1 against troops.
Fast attack unit for another kind of mission tactic.
Yep, fast attacks, elites, heavy supports, and HQ.
Yep.
So.
And it's units with the HQ in it. So, considering the kind of unit that I tend to like to bring with a certain character.
The other point of note here is what happens if your HQ is with a fast attack, or HQ is with a troop, or whatever, right? Well, it says down at the bottom for mixed units. If you have an HQ and a fast attack together, then they count as both. So you could say I'm shooting at HQ or I'm shooting at fast attack, and you will get credit for shooting at both. So in the case of Alian, if she went with Shadow Sun and the stealth suits, which are elites, I could say I'm just shooting at elites, and I get crisis suits, the stealth suits, and Shadow Sun because she happens to be with those elites. Yeah. So it's important, I think, when you're picking your tactics to try to make use of the mixed unit stuff. If you happen to be fighting other Death Watch, this rule will become very problematic for you. But yeah, those are the tactics. Like I said, once per game, you can switch that from whatever you choose to start with. All right, so we get to realistically, the only real,
Sure.
the only real infantry model that you will get with the Death Watch, sort of.
They're like I guess your troop choice.
This is the only real squad, and it's a troop choice, and it's veterans, right? So these guys are 110 points for 5 of them. There is no sergeant.
They're expensive.
You can take a sergeant upgrade for free. The sergeant doesn't actually do anything, although he does get access to that Xenophase blade if you really want that. Otherwise, he also gets special. Yeah, he also gets the special issue war gear list as well. But the sergeant upgrade is completely free. So if you don't want to have any characters, then it might behoove you not to bring him. They also have another special upgrade guy called a Black Shield. You can spend 15 points for this, so this is probably your true sergeant. He gets +1 weapon skill. These guys are all leadership 9, by the way. Yeah.
Everything is good leadership.
Yeah. Anyways, you get +1 weapon skill, and then special rule called Atonement Through Honor. So what that does, it's actually pretty insane. If the model is locked in close combat with is it a character or HQ? I can't remember.
I thought it was character.
I think it's character as well. Models locked in combat with an independent character, monstrous creature, or vehicle, or they're outnumbered. This character gets to double their attacks. So this doesn't say double base attacks, which means if you give him 2 close combat weapons on a charge, he gets 4 attacks, which means he has 8 attacks. Yeah, that's pretty good, guys. Especially whenever you consider, short of fighting incubi, or maybe
Harlequins,
or maybe small squads of Harlequins, which have already lost, someone or two. You're probably going to be outnumbered against most forces because you're usually not going to put more than 5-man
considering
squads.
how expensive, as he's mentioned, considering how expensive this particular squad is. I don't really like it because most likely I'll be fighting against it, but considering how expensive the squad is and for how many, that's not a whole lot of things on the board. Right. So it makes sense that they would have something like that of a perk, especially when they get into close combat and need to destroy something like a solitaire or a vehicle or things that can necessarily destroy a whole pack of them.
So otherwise, these guys, their stats are just normal tactical marine stats. They get 2 attacks instead of 1 because vets, but otherwise basic space marine stats. Stealth, ammunition, no fear, crack, frag. Then they all have a bolt gun and close combat weapon. And then they all have access to special ammunition, which, like I said, the frag or the Dragonfire, Kraken, and Inferno. Yeah. Right? Inferno.
Yes.
I think so. We're cover that here in a bit, probably after the veterans, just to go over what all that is. There are 22. You can add an extra guy for 22 points. So a base squad can have up to, any model can take from melee, ranged, or special weapons list, which means these guys actually have better access to special weapons in quantities than like the Military Tempestus, who every squad gets 2 and the command squad gets 4, which is pretty crazy anyway. So being able to say all 5 get special weapons is pretty good. Special weapons are going to be, we might actually cover this one. There's the Death Watch shotgun, the Stalker pattern bolt gun, flamer, melta gun, grab gun, plasma gun. Ranged bolt gun, storm bolter, combi, melta, plasma flamer, hand flamer. So yeah.
Melee weapons,
grab pistol, inferno pistol, plasma pistol, and then melee weapons: chainsaw, lightning claw, power fist, power weapon of your choice, and
the thunder.
All of these are priced at standard prices. Chainsword is free, so it says close combat weapon, but I kind of feel like you're just going to, by default, give them all chainswords because a chainsword is better than a close combat weapon. And it says you can replace your, whichever one you want, essentially. So, in that a chainsword is free, every single model is going to have a chainsword. Mm-hmm. So that's not a bad benefit, honestly. It does make them a fair bit better in melee than they could be. It's at least some AP when they normally wouldn't have any.
It is pretty interesting. You can mix up like the range and melee.
Yeah, no, the squads are definitely, so real quick, just to touch though on that shotgun. Where are we? Okay, so the shotgun isn't the traditional scout shotgun. This is a 16-inch strength 4 assault 2 shred shotgun. It has the option to, instead of firing that, it has 2 other fire modes. It has a 16-inch strength 4 AP4 assault 2 shot.
Wow.
So if you don't need the AP or if they're in cover, you're going to use the assault 2 shred. If you need that AP4 and they're not in cover, then that assault 2 strength 4 AP4 is what you're going to go for, obviously. And then finally, the really weird thing, Worm Breath Shell. It is essentially a hand flamer, more or less. Template assault 1 strength 3 AP6.
6.
So, you're not going to win necessarily any. It's not necessarily going to help against a lot of armies, but it's not bad. And then that also means it's a template weapon, right? So you have that nice Overwatch Wall of Death special rule that you can utilize, which is almost always going to be better than hitting on 6s. So the shotgun will be a nice. I feel like you'll probably see the shotgun a fair amount, or at least 1 to 2 Death Watch members in a squad carrying one, just because it's very versatile, and almost all of the versions of it have their uses. And 16-inch on a shotgun, not too bad. It definitely makes you shorter range, but it's not a bad weapon.
It's completely shorter range.
So. Yeah, exactly. And still assault too. So once you get to 16, you still have 2 shots. But yeah, that's touching on that, and then I guess I can touch on the stalker pattern. Although there's nothing that unique about it. It's heavy 2, sniper, AP5, and that's the stalker pattern.
Generally 36, 24
it's 30
36
inch
range.
Yeah, and then depending on the ammo, it'll fluctuate between 24 and 36 inches. But it's always assault, or it's always heavy 2. So you don't want to move with it, but if you can keep them steady, then you actually get some pretty good mileage out of the weapon. So anyways, continue on. Model can replace their close combat weapon or bolt gun with a storm shield. So you could have a guy with a bolter and storm shield, or a plasma gun and storm shield, or whatever it is you want. You can mix it up however you want. I know some of the codexes don't necessarily allow you to switch the melee weapon for the storm shield. It always has to be the ranged.
Huh.
So this kind of gives you the option to have 3-up invuln shooty army. So that's not too bad. It's usual prices. Then you also have the other relatively major change or new thing here there's 2 new things. First, we're covering the heavy thunderhammer. Any veteran can replace their melee weapon or everything they have with the heavy thunderhammer. This is a strength 10 AP2 that has instant death on 6s.
Yep, and 2-handed. I think it was unwieldy.
Yeah. It's 2-handed and unwieldy. So you're always going last, but
it's strength 10.
Strength 10. So you're basically auto pinning most vehicles with this if you get it there, and causing instant death to all sorts of things.
Oh man,
it's pretty crazy.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Staying far away from that.
I don't think it really affects you. I can't see necessarily anyone really wielding it against. Well, if you had Riptide, I guess, but it'll be a really good monstrous creature killer. So if you can get a squad with a heavy thunderhammer into combat with a Riptide or Ghost Keel or whatever, it'll make short work of it because instant dead. Then we have the ability for veterans can choose from heavy weapons, and this is kind of where we have the other really big addition here with the Death Watch. So your choices are heavy bolter, heavy flamer, missile launcher, and then we kind of have I guess there's 2 here, but more the really odd one in my opinion here is the Infernus heavy bolter. So this is essentially just taking a heavy bolter, strapping a heavy flamer to it, and making it assault. So you can move and fire your heavy bolter And
And then you could assault with a flamethrower?
yeah, well, I mean, you still can only fire one or the other. But yeah, you still have the heavy flamethrower, and it's not one use only. This is just a heavy flamethrower. This isn't a combi heavy flamer. This is a heavy flamer.
That can also be a bulk.
Heavy bolter.
A heavy
So
bolter.
it's 3 shots. That's strength 5, AP 4? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Multi-use weapon. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, for what it is, it's essentially... You basically are just taking both weapons on the model because it's the same price as taking both. And it's 20 for a Henburns bolter. So you're basically paying for the heavy flamer and the heavy bolter at the same time to get this.
Something that can do both.
Yeah, and you can still move and shoot, which a heavy bolter normally can't do. And then we have the other big gun. We have the Death Watch frag gun, or frag cannon. So this one has several odd things about it as well. There we go. So it has a template version, which is a template, strength 6, AP nothing, assault 2, rending. So that is assault 2, meaning you get 2 templates for each frag cannon you have. But it's AP nothing, so it's not going to ignore their armor, but it'll definitely ignore their cover. Yeah. It'll be good against horde armies for sure. Then you have the solid shell, which is a 24-inch strength 7 AP 3 assault 2 impact. Impact is a new rule here specific to this. But strength 7 AP 3, so it can do some anti-vehicle work or shoot at monstrous creatures or whatever. Or even marines, because strength 7 AP 3, 2 shots. Yep. Impact, however, makes, if you're within 12 inches of your target, the strength actually becomes 9 and the AP is increased to 2. That means if you're within 12 inches, this thing becomes a Terminator killer. So
it becomes terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, this thing will absolutely annihilate anything at 12 inches. So you still have 2 shots, so that's 2 strength 9 shots into a vehicle at AP 2. You have a pretty good chance to royally fuck that vehicle up.
Yes, you do. So you don't even need to. So here I am, a bit concerned with the Thunderhammer, and then there's another option that could also ruin vehicles.
Yep.
And monstrous creatures.
And that is, again, assault, so you can charge with your heavy Thunderhammer if this thing somehow doesn't kill it.
Oh, good.
And then that is 25 points for that.
At least it's
so
pricey.
It's expensive. It definitely is expensive.
You pay for it. You pay for a lot of things with this.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to find is a running theme with this. Everything is very, very pricey. And it's going to be, realistically, this is going to be a balance between bringing all the cool new toys and stuff that are really good stuff, but are pricey, versus having enough models on the table that you can compete without just getting wiped out to, some pretty basic shooting. And that's a very real danger, because you could field a 5-man squad here that has a plasma rifle and 4 of those Infernus heavy bolters for 205 points for 3 up armor 5-man Space Marine squad. Like, it's very hard to justify a 5-man squad.
That is half of the 500-point armies, which we used to do quite often.
So that's
It's hard to really justify that when you're going against someone who can bring.
You're probably never gonna.
Troops.
Yeah, you're probably not generally gonna see that unless you sort of do some shenanigans with some bikes, which are talked about later. But yeah, otherwise, there's nothing else to say. If you bring the Sergeant, you can bring the Xenophase Blade. It's the usual point cost. They can bring a Rhino, a Razorback, Black Star, or Drop Pod as dedicated transport. Alright, so basically this is going to be the basis of your army, and everything else you do with your army is going to be cherry-picking veterans plus something
else.
You can still field a basic CAD, but if you're fielding a basic CAD, you're basically just playing normal Space Marines, I think.
That's true.
With veterans as a troop choice. That's more specific. So it's a basic Space Marine army, no scouts, with veterans as a troop choice, if you choose to run it like that. And, there's something to be said. That's not necessarily bad, because hey, veterans are normally an elite slot. Now we can bring an insane amount of veterans.
Yep.
So if you want to run it like that, then you can bring Watchmaster, your veterans, and then everything else. But
you don't get some of the special.
Yeah, there's some cool
up.
special rules here for bringing certain formations. They're realistically, you're a very formation-based squad, or you bring the Black Spear Strike Force, in which is their Decurion-esque type detachment, but it's not really on the power level. I don't think.
So it's not a hunter contingent.
No, it's not up there with that type of strength, but it's pretty good. So anyways, you have Terminators. A Terminator squad for the Death Watch is a single Terminator.
40 points.
Yep, 40 points a pop. All the normal Terminator options. They can all have they can all have Cyclone or Assault Cannons or Heavy Flamers. That's sort of where they're going to differ. Much like the veterans, all the Terminators can have special heavy weapons and stuff. So you could, at 25 points a model, if you wanted to, you could build, five Terminators with Cyclone missile launchers if you wanted, and spend 425 points for that, right? No, 325. 325? Yeah, 325.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. They can never be more than a 5-man squad either. So you can only add 4 Terminators to your single Terminator, so you can't build larger squads than 5. But you sort of have the flexibility to only bring 2 if you want, and give them both Cyclone missile launchers. Then you basically spent 125 points for 4 crack missiles. That's not bad, right? And they still have that 2-up armor, so they're not easy to kill. Mm-hmm. And they have their invuln save just in case. So, it's a very flexible army. It really is. It can sort of do what you want it to.
Yeah.
But you need to build it as such. The Terminators also get the other thing, which is so they have a Power Fist and a Stormbolter by default. They could replace the Power Fist with the Power Weapon for free, Chain Fist for 5 points, or I don't even know how to go with this. It's a Power Fist with an auxiliary Melt-A-Gun attached. So it's like they just strapped a Melt-A-Gun to the Power Fist, and there. So, yeah.
Shenanigans.
It's basically Exhibit walked in and said, "Yo, dog, heard you like blowing up vehicles, so now you can blow up vehicles while you blow up vehicles." Yeah. So he's got a Melt-A-Gun and a Power Fist.
And a Power Fist. Because why not?
Yeah. So that's only 10 points. So
it's actually one of the cheaper upgrades too.
Well, I mean, essentially, you're just spending a Melt-A-Gun's normally 10 points, so you're just spending 10 points to bring a Melt-A-Gun in addition. It's similar idea to the Infernus Heavy Bolter. You're basically bringing one, and you're paying 10 points to bring the other along as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, then the other, like I said, the big thing here is every single Terminator can bring a heavy weapon. A heavy flamer, assault cannon, or Cyclone missile launcher. So you have to choose between those, but you can bring any of those, and that does replace your Stormbolter. Then you can also choose to make the melee. Thunderhammer Storm Shield is 10 points per model, and Lightning Claws for free. Otherwise, they have Fearless, and that's it. So I don't remember if Fearless is on normal Terminators or not. That may be special here to them.
So it's another special thing with the Death Watch.
It could be. That's relevant for other reasons to do with the kill teams. Then you have Dreadnought. Nothing to say here. It's just a Dreadnought.
Dreadnought and then a venerable Dreadnought.
Yeah, Venerable Dreadnought as well. Nothing special again. It's just they're going to have their mission tactics thing, and that's kind of it. I'm not going to go over those because Dreadnoughts are Dreadnoughts. Then you have Vanguard Veterans, which are going to be your assault troops. These guys are in your elite slot. I mean, they're essentially veterans with jump packs. 2 attacks. You can have Lightning Claws or a power weapon for 5 points per model, so they have very cheap access to power weapons. They are 25 points per model, and a squad.
Terminator.
a squad is a single veteran. So you could have a jump pack squad of one guy if you wanted to. I don't know why, but you can. Again, similar to Terminators, you can only have a squad of 5 of these guys, so you can't have 10 of them jumping around or anything like that. You have one guy, and then you can add, except for the same point cost, 25 points, you can add up to 4. Let's see, they can have access to, they normally have bolt pistol, chainsword, mission tactics. They get grav pistol, inferno pistol, plasma, power fist, thunder hammer, storm shield, grav pistol, hand flamer, power weapon, lightning claw. They can bring melta bombs for 5, so I think melta is usually 10, so that's not bad.
That's cheaper, yeah.
And then of course they also have the massive thunder hammer and
storm shield.
No, I'm talking about like the
the
big heavy thunder hammer. That thing that's 30 points per. You can bring one of those or more than one of those if you want. Like each model can, because it just says any model. So if you wanted to have 5 of these guys with massive thunder hammers, be my guest. You crazy person.
It would be very interesting to see an army like that.
Be very expensive. Basically makes each model 55 points.
Would be very expensive.
And then their special rule here is Heroic Intervention. A unit that contains a model with this rule ignores penalties for disordered charges and can re-roll both dice when determining charge range. So you're like, well, they're jump packs. Why would I care? Well, because Death Watch. Kill teams, you can have a jump pack unit with veterans, with Terminators, with a bike. So if you bring him, everyone can re-roll the charge, not just the jump pack. So, yeah. That's kind of where some of the strength of the Death Watch comes from.
Yeah.
Remember how I said the Terminator has Fearless? That means the Terminator's with his squad, the whole squad has Fearless, because one person has Fearless. Vanguard Veterans. Heroic Intervention. The bikes.
What squad has that?
The bikes. Split fire. You should be noticing a pattern here. They're all about giving additional special rules to each other. Bike squad, 30 points per bike. Max or minimum size is 1 bike. So you can have a single man bike squad. And you can have, again, up to 4 additional bikers, so 5-man maximum squad.
Once we get to the formations, you will see exactly why you have the option of just having one.
Yeah. All
of that makes sense.
Yeah, all of this makes a lot more sense once we get to the formations. So bikers, normal stat line for bikers, skilled rider, and split fire, and that's kind of the big stuff here. They can bring teleport homers and 5 points for power weapons, and they can bring as many power weapons as they want, because again, you should be noticing a pattern. They have basically infinite access to any sort of heavy, special, whatever weapon. They want it, they get it.
Yeah.
And you pay for it. So yeah, bikes, 30 points apiece.
The best for the best.
Alright, so you have rhinos and razorbacks.
Standard fare,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, this is standard fare. I'm not going to go over these. You know what they do. Metal boxes.
Drop pod.
Drop pod, again, standard fare here. There's nothing to be, there's nothing to go over. And then the new vehicle.
This is a flyer.
Flyer, yep. It is an expensive flyer at that.
180
180 points for this bad boy. Ballistic skill 4, this Corvus Blackstar is the name. Ballistic skill 4, 12 front, side, and 11 rear. It's combat roll, attack flyer, pursuit 3, agility 2. So, initially has twin linked assault, Black Star cluster, 4 storm strikes, and ceramite plating. What are those, you ask? So, is it cluster? Is it cluster? Yeah, cluster. So, cluster is basically a bomber, essentially. So, you can drop frag bombs for strength 4, AP 6, bomb 1, large blast, or furnace cluster, which is strength 5, AP 4, blast, ignores cover. So, yeah. Those missiles that they get, however, where do they go? Ugh, it's annoying.
Go back.
Alright. Anyway, ceramite plating. Melta weapons do not roll an extra d6 for armor pin when shooting at the vehicle, so they cannot be affected by Melta, essentially.
What?
It's pretty good.
No.
And I cannot seem to find these stupid missiles. Oh, there we go. Storm Strike. So yeah, they're single-use, heavy, concussive, 72-inch, strength 8, AP2, and you get 4 of those. So, yeah. Don't
Those
like
are
that.
hefty.
Don't like that vehicle? Fuck that vehicle. It's dead.
Destroy the vehicle.
Yeah, it's dead. Done. And then, of course, the twin-linked assault cannon. So you can replace the assault cannon with blast cannons for free. You can switch the bomb, or you can switch all 4 missiles for a twin-linked rocket launcher.
The Black Star.
Yep, which is a... You can choose between the Skyfire, which is strength 6 AP4, D6 shots, or basically the air-to-ground one, which is a heavy one, large blast, ignores cover, strength 4, AP5, 30-inch. So both of those are 30-inch, but yeah. Essentially, you bring this if you're more worried about infantry, and if you just want it there to kill vehicles, then it does that. All of this is also in the nice handy form of being an assault transport vehicle. Or is it assault? It is not assault. Oh, it is. Yes, it is an assault vehicle. So yeah, it's transport. Rule. It can carry 12 models. It can also carry jump infantry and bikes. Has no fire points. It can be accessed from 2 side points and 1 on the rear. Oh wait, no, 2 front points and 1 on the rear. And yeah, it basically, this thing is crazy good.
So it
for 180 points, it better be good. But I mean, this thing does it all.
It carries all of them, which means it could carry an entire.
It can carry an entire squad, drop them off, and blow up the tank you're sitting in just cause, and give you the finger as it flies off, basically. Yeah, this thing is pretty crazy, and ignore Melta, which is just.
And it can carry 12 models, which means it could carry an entire kill team.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it.
So the rest of their vehicles here are Land Raider, Land Raider Redeemer, and Land Raider Crusader. So I'm not going to touch on these. These are basic stuff. There's nothing special here for the Death Watch. It's just Land Raiders. You want them? Bring them. Alright, so this is where all this shit is going to start to make sense as we get to the kill teams. Basically, all the kill teams are the same, so we're just going to go into the details on how they work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to the restrictions and special benefits of each one.
Yes.
But otherwise, the way you make a kill team is the exact same for all kill teams. So, every single kill team is a unit of veterans. So that means you got to bring 5 veterans.
So your base troop, which is the centerpiece of your army, that's what you need.
Yep. Then you have to choose. This is going to vary a little bit between the different kill teams. However, all of them have access to all of these choices. You can add a librarian, terminators, vanguard veterans, or bikers, which means all the troops that we talked about, including the bike, can join them.
And that's why one of each. Why you could do one of each as a minimum.
So, you want to do some fun shenanigans? Maybe you do spring for those 4 Infernus Heavy Bolters. Worried about getting shot by AP? Put 4 bikes out front to jinx save.
And if you did spend that money on that nifty flyer, that entire kill team, as long as it's 12 models, can fit.
Yep. Well, I think the bikes are bulky, so that one may not actually fit. Not if it's 4, but either way.
4, but if you bring 1.
Either way, you bring those 4 Infernus Heavy Bolters if you really want to. Stick them with 1 Terminator for Fearless and 4 bikes, and enjoy being able to split fire that squad of death while getting jinx saves from all the bikes. And by the way, you're Fearless in case the worst should happen. So,
yep. And it goes along with a neat little perk that comes in comes with different kill teams.
So each of the kill teams do have special perks. The first one is called Aquila. There is no special restrictions for this one. This is the one that you can just bring. Whatever you want, whoever you want, it can go. Except for, again, you must have at least 5 veterans.
Yes.
That is the one hard and fast rule for any kill team. Must have 5 vets. The squad can also never exceed 10 models. So your kill team is limited to 10. And that's all kill teams.
And they can't split. They are as one.
Yeah. That's also true. Even if you bring 4 bikes, they can't split off and do their own thing. So, we have Aquila Doctrine for this kill team. You can re-roll you can re-roll failed to wound rolls and armor pin rolls of 1. So, not bad. It's useful against everyone. Yeah, it just lets you re-roll in case you hit a 1. And if you're shooting high strength weapons with them, then the 2 wound roll means you essentially have twin linked. Or not twin linked, you essentially just get to try twice, but yeah, twin linked is only to hit. Fury kill team. So
recall some of the names that I was spouting out the mission tactics?
Yep.
All related.
They are. So the restrictions for this one is they must have at least 1 veteran armed with a Death Watch frag cannon or Infernus heavy bolter. So basically you just have to make sure you spend 20 points to 25 points depending on which one you want to shove in this. That is the only restriction, except for you also must have 1 Terminator at least. Because the formation is a unit of veterans and a unit of Terminators. Well, a unit of Terminators is 1 Terminator.
Yep.
So you could bring a single Terminator with
40 points.
with Infernus, give them a special weapon, just
a few more points,
and then Infernus bolter on a guy, and you have a Fury kill team. Why would you do that? Reroll any failed to wound rolls and armor pin rolls for non-vehicle models from this formation that are targeting a unit with troops battlefield roll.
Yep.
It basically gives shred to assuming they're firing at the unit type that they're specialized for, they have shred. And that's going to be the case for all these kill teams.
Combine that with a particular mission tactic,
and they have to bring like some special guy as well. But
and you combine that with the particular mission tactic.
Yep, you're re-rolling to hit. You're re-rolling to hit on. So yeah, if you took the fear mission tactic, you're re-rolling failed to hits of 1, and then you're re-rolling all failed to wounds.
Essentially,
it's pretty brutal. It really is when it's added in.
It makes it for very interesting.
I mean, you got to remember all Space Marines have a minimum ballistic skill here of 4. So the only way you really fail is by rolling a 2. And then, as long as you don't fail on that, you get to re-roll it, and then you have shred after the fact. So, I mean, these guys should be putting up far more wounds than just about any other codex out there with the same stat lines because of these rules.
As long as it's toward the particular unit type that they're going against.
Yep, absolutely true. So, like I said, if you're veterans, unit Terminators, which can be a single Terminator. And then, again, they can still have bikes, Vanguard vets, biker, and a librarian if they want to. So
we go next to
see, this is kind of what I'm curious is like, why is one of the options a librarian, but you couldn't bring a chaplain here? Because this is where it makes some sense to possibly get a chaplain in if you sort of designed a melee version kill team and brought the chaplain with, but.
Does he ever pop up as a particular choice for any of these kill teams?
Nope. Well, I think the HQ one, but we'll get to that. So Venator kill team, same special rules, failed to wounds against fast attack this time, and failed armor pins, etc. You get a reroll.
So the restriction for this one would probably be...
Yeah, restrictions for this is you must include at least 2 bikes.
Yep.
And it says unit of bikers, and based on the rule, you got to have at least 2 bikers. It's not bad. Bikes aren't bad, and
And it gives you again
split fire.
Yeah, it gives you their special rules. Not only that, but it also makes them go against fast attack, which if you pair with the Venator mission tactic, re-roll failed
Yep.
hits
Yep.
of one.
They're all going to be the same. Whatever the name of the kill team is, there's an associated tactic, which will be to hit rolls of 1 for that same thing. Dominatus, that's filled to wound rolls and armor pins against elites. Restrictions are you must have at least 2 Vanguard veterans, so that's your jump unit, your assaults. The formation is 1 veteran squad, 1 Vanguard veteran squad, so you got to bring them anyways, and you got to bring at least 2 instead of just 1. So honestly, the restrictions aren't too bad. The biggest restriction is all of them. The biggest restriction in general is bringing the veterans, but the veterans are good enough on their own that it's almost always worthwhile. If you want the unit to be an assault unit, the veterans can do that. Like, just give them swords, and you're fine. There's really no reason that you would. Yeah, it's all good stuff, guys. Malleus kill team. This is that special rule, but against heavy support. To bring this, you have to bring at least 2 models that must be armed with thunder hammers or heavy thunder hammers.
So essentially anything that could kill a heavy support or monstrous creature.
Yeah, and the formation itself consists of veterans and terminators. So you can bring 1 terminator and 2 guys with heavy thunder hammers and you're good, or whatever you want, really. Although, if you're going to bring thunder hammers, you're probably going to always put a Vanguard veteran in there, just so you can reroll your charge distance. Just because, and
Why
you
not?
can ignore disordered charges. So, Pregatus, reroll any failed to wound or armor pin against HQ. Restrictions for this one is at least 1 veteran must have a Stalker pattern bolt gun. That's it. The unit itself here, though, also has but one of the more restrictive lists to bring. The formation is a veteran, a librarian, and a unit of terminators. So, you must have a librarian, basically.
Yeah.
Then we have the last kill team type setup. All this isn't even a kill team. It's called Strategium Command Team. The formation is a watch captain, chaplain, or librarian, so you have to pick one.
And then the special rules will be catered to which one you picked.
Yeah, so the special rules for each of them. You have a choice between adding a squad of veterans to it, an Aquila kill team, or any of the kill teams that we've been over, basically. So you could... Oh no, it's lead, okay. I was like, you could actually still get that librarian in there by bringing a kill team and bring a librarian. However, you won't get the special rule because it specifically says the team has to be led by, right? Anyways, so special rules, fight to the last breath. If the watch captain is the leader, then the all models in the formation have feel no pain. 6 up, though. Yeah,
it's
so
right.
It's not good as normal feel no pain, but it's still, it's better than nothing. If it's led by a librarian, if it's led by a chaplain, they all get Furious Charge.
I don't like that one.
And if it's led by a librarian, they all get Adamantium, Will, and Stubborn. So that's pretty good, too.
That's pretty... I actually think the best rule would probably be...
The librarian, I think, is the best one, followed by
the chaplain with the Furious Charge. No, you think the feel no pain?
I don't know, I feel like the chaplain, I just don't like the chaplain. Like...
I think the rule is good.
The special rule for the chaplain is better.
I do agree. It's kind of a poor excuse to bring a chaplain.
Yeah, exactly. You're sacrificing too much by not bringing the watch captain. Like, just what you get out of the watch captain, I think, makes bringing the watch captain better.
So while the watch captain may have a weaker special rule when it comes to that,
6 up isn't bad. It's still nothing.
It's
better
still
than
a
nothing.
little weaker in comparison to the other special rules. But then you're bringing a watch captain, which we covered had all these interesting things that he can do.
So, now then you kind of have the big fuck it all formation, basically. It's called Watch Company. The formation mandatory is 1 watch captain, and then you have 4 choices of any of your kill teams. So you get 4 kill teams. If you're going to bring 4 kill teams, you're going to bring this formation, essentially, because Decapitation Doctrine. Reroll any failed to wound rolls and armor pin rolls for attacks made by non-vehicle units.
Oh no.
That target an enemy unit includes a warlord, psyker, or independent character. So,
crap.
Essentially what they're doing is they're just giving you the Pregatus Doctrine.
To the entire
Yeah, exactly.
watch company.
Yeah, so you could bring, I don't know why, but Pregatus is a choice for the kill teams, but you wouldn't bring them because the entire formation is going to get their special rule anyway, so you may as well sort of double dip into that. Like, you can always do that.
It's terrifying. So any part of that formation will be able to have the Decapitation Doctrine.
Yep. So good stuff.
Good to know.
Last thing. Is it last thing? Yes, last thing. Well, next to the detachment. We'll go to the detachment last. Burning Skies Doctrine. When models from this formation target an enemy flyer or flying monstrous creature. By the way, it's 3 black stars. I should have said so. It's 3 Corvus black stars. When models from the formation attack flyer or flying monstrous creature with an attack, reroll failed armor pin or to wound rolls. So it gives them shred, basically.
Just so expensive.
Yeah, you gotta bring 3 of them.
So expensive.
You gotta bring 3. That's not cheap to bring 3 of those bad boys. Especially if you're putting any upgrades on them. So, last thing to cover is the Strike Squad, or Black Spear Strike Force. So, restrictions. You must bring 1 core, 1 auxiliary, and 1 command. Or 1 to 3 command. Now you can bring more than 1 core, more than 1 auxiliary, but it has to be at least 1, and you can bring up to 3 of these command choices. So, why would you do this? Veteran Master of the Watch. If the detachment is chosen as primary, you get a reroll your warlord trait, which is kind of standard fare. Mm-hmm. Flexible mission tactics. It lets you switch tactics 1 additional time. And Sudden Onslaught. All non-vehicle models in Black Spear Strike Force have Deep Strike. So you basically make the entire army Deep Strike.
That's...
Without drop pods. You don't even need drop pods.
They scatter though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So basically you're turning your entire army into much better versions of Militarum Tempestus. Essentially is what you're doing with this. Unfortunately, it doesn't have like a rule where you roll and they all come on at the same time. But in any case, so your HQ for your command choice, it can be Watchmaster, Watch Captain, Chaplain, Librarian, as you'd expect. But it can also be a Dreadnought or Venerable Dreadnought for your command choices, which is interesting.
Weird.
Yeah, you don't have to bring a watch. Yeah, it's
but
very.
Those are not H.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a walking sarcophagus. What is he gonna do?
Even in death, still serve? Yeah.
And lead.
Yeah. Your core choices are going to be a basic kill team, which is just veterans, nothing else. Mm-hmm. They don't have any benefits either, so you wouldn't really bring that unless you're just trying to fill space. Aquila kill team, dropship, or an Aquila kill team. And then any of the other kill teams as well. Yeah. Then our auxiliary choice can either be a Corvus Black Star, a Dreadnought or Venerable Dread, a Land Raider, or the Dropship Wing, which is the 3 Corvus Black Stars. So you can bring any amount of those and then 1 to 3 of the commanders. The reason you bring this, though, is for the Deep Strike. Otherwise,
seems to be a major part of that.
Yeah, and you really want to reroll your warlord trait, I guess, and the mission tactics. That's a good thing too.
Yeah,
but
pretty much when it comes to the Death Watch, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Any chances you have to reroll or change tactics, which is never a bad thing, you should probably try and take it.
So
if it's expensive.
Real quick here, we're going to hit the warlord traits. We're just going to rapid fire through these. Roll of 1 gets you basically reroll failed to wound and armor pin against monstrous creatures, tanks, and super heavies. Lord of Hidden Knowledge, you roll the dice, and whatever the dice shows, you do this at the beginning of the game. Whatever the dice shows, you get that many chances to reroll a failed to wound, to hit, or armor pin roll.
Because why not?
Yeah, it could be really bad though. If you roll a 1, that would just suck. I feel
That's
like this
true.
one should be d6 plus 6, so you never get that single roll. That's just
That is a fair point.
that would make that an awful warlord trait if you roll badly.
Yeah, that's...
Number 3 is any weapon that you take except relics have master crafted. Not bad.
decent.
It's okay. It's nothing amazing, but it's it's okay. Bringer of Red Dawn. Basically, after you deploy, you can decide whether or not there is night fighting. That's it. And your warlord has night vision. Vigilance Incarnate is number 5. It lets you change the mission tactics one additional time. And then finally we have Master of the Void Hunt, which is probably what you're always going to be trying to get at the start of each of your turns. That is every turn. If your warlord is within 12 inches, roll a dice. Of an enemy unit, roll a dice. On a 3 or more, the unit suffers D3 Strength 6 AP4 hits.
Out of nowhere!
If you roll 6, they suffer D3 Strength 10 AP2 hits.
A rocket launcher.
That's better than a rocket launcher.
A missile.
It's like a heavy thunder hammer from the sky. There you go.
From the heavens.
So any wounds that are inflicted by this are randomly allocated as well. So no hiding behind
Cover.
or or even like trying to position people appropriately. Cover still works, but they might hit that guy holding the plasma, or they might hit because it's randomly allocated. So you have to pick one unit, but yeah. What?
I mean, it's wounds, right?
Yeah, wounds.
Armor can help.
Yeah, no. Well, no, armor won't help because AP2 and AP4.
know.
Well, AP4 might, but AP2 you won't give a shit. Cover will help though. It doesn't say ignores cover.
Oh.
But you're always going to be wanting 5 or 6. I feel like you're always going to be using that reroll to get 5 or 6 every time because both of those are pretty good. The others are kind of okay, but nothing to write home about. And then finally, we will now actually get to covering the special ammo. Some of this is you've probably heard before, but
Special issue ammunition.
yep, and every single unit in Death Watch has this stuff, assuming they have one of these weapons. So it works for bolt pistols, bolt guns, and stalker pattern bolt guns. So we'll start with Dragonfire Bolt. This is a 12-inch strength 4 AP5 on a bolt pistol, and it ignores cover. So essentially, all this is going to do is it's going to make all your weapons ignore cover for all 3 of these. Doesn't affect any other modifiers about the weapon though. So ignores cover if you're already going through their armor, or if their cover is a better save than their armor. This is what you're going to use.
Yeah, that's painful.
Hellfire rounds. For all of these, what it does, it makes a poison 2 up. That's it. It also changes the strength to 1. So, you're obviously not going to use this against vehicles or anything, but not that you use poison against vehicles.
I guess you would have to use it against like an army, especially that's like.
Well, poison 2. It's essentially it's there to be used against higher toughness enemies. So if you're shooting at toughness 4 or especially toughness 5 enemies, then you're probably actually going to use this because it's hard to wound them.
That's a good point.
Poison 2 is nice. Next up is Kraken Bolt. So you have, it essentially adds about, it adds range, but it's variable. So for the bolt pistol, it makes it 15-inch, strength 4, AP 4. So it also increases the AP value on that. So it's better, basically, all around. This is probably the sort of go-to if you're not sure what else to use, you use the Kraken Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, with the stalker pattern and the Kraken Bolt, you're going to get a 36-inch range,
Yeah.
which is the largest range you can get. That's pretty good.
The bolt gun basically tries to become the Tau weapon here.
Yeah.
It goes to 30-inch strength 4 AP4 rapid fire. So 15-inch rapid fire range. It's not too bad. And yeah, Stalker pattern is 36-inch AP4. If you're going to be using, a group of veterans to sit back there and snipe with Stalker pattern, you're probably going to be using the Kraken bolt all the time until they get closer, at least, because 36-inch range is nothing to sneeze at. That's pretty long range.
That is pretty long range.
Finally, we have Vengeance rounds. Basically, these make all of your weapons, well, pseudo-plasma, but not quite as good.
They all get hot.
Yeah, basically they all gets hot, but they get AP3. So, I guess more specifically, they try to become Militarum Tempestus weapons, basically, but they suffer a gets hot roll because of that. They don't have quite as good. But yeah, the bolt pistol drops to 9-inch range, strength 4, AP3 gets hot. Bolt gun, 18-inch, strength 4, AP3 gets hot, rapid fire.
Stalker pattern, 24-inch instead of 30.
Yeah. Yep. And again, heavy 2, sniper gets hot. So, the Vengeance rounds, I think, would be the least used unless you're against Marines, or you're shooting at Chaos Space Marines. Like, that's kind of the only time I'd really consider using Vengeance rounds. And even then, I'd really weigh that one heavily because it's not true AP2. If it was true plasma, like essentially gave you AP2 that without the strength, that would be one thing. But AP3 is, I'm not sure that's good enough for gets hot.
Probably not. Like, especially when you compare it to all the other options you have. Like, the Kraken to me is the most useful. Like, well, the one that you could kind of use against perhaps most of the armies. It's more versatile.
I would say Kraken and Dragonfire are going to be your two most used shots.
Dragonfire ignores
shortly followed by the Hellfire round, and then Vengeance round will be sort of the outlier. But yeah, that's it for the Death Watch here. Don't have anything else too much to really talk about. Oh, right. There's one upgrade for the Corvus Black Star we didn't mention that's pretty good. It's called Infernum Halo Launcher. You can reroll failed cover saves for a Corvus Black Star if it's chinking. So, yeah. Pretty good. I think that one was 10 points, 15 points, something like that. We'll just double check for you. But...
I think so. 50 points?
5.
5.
So,
cheap.
Pretty much an auto include.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... Overall, I'd say pretty good stuff here for the Death Watch. They have a lot of stuff they can do. But that's going to do it, though, guys. There's some other stuff in the Death Mask, but...
We're just going over the Codex since you'll probably be seeing a game with them close. That won't be completely related to the Death Mask.
Yeah, well, the Death Mask it's much like the Harlequin. If you watch that, it's basically some discounts for some relatively minor special rules and a lot of very restrictive ways to outfit your squads. That's kind of what it is. And, much like the Harlequins, there's some that sort of will work, but there's also some that you're just like, why would I do that? Like the Harlequins troop squad choices that they can bring in Death Mask, or like there's an outside reason to bring them, but in general you're still going to bring a normal troop. But yeah, guys, that does it for this. If you enjoyed watching this and hearing our thoughts, we would like to hear your thoughts too. So by all means, please do give us a comment and tell us what you think about the new Codex.
Let us know if you want to hear a little bit more on it. Ask questions.
Yeah, I've basically
Check out the cool painting he's been doing.
Yeah, I've basically spent most of today and last night working on paint here.
So one
the Death
thing
Watch.
I wanted to point out, because I'm a little finicky when it comes to artsy stuff, is that if you notice the Dark Angel in comparison.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting.
There's a proportion difference, not necessarily a big height difference, but a proportion difference between some of the limbs.
Yeah.
Like they made the Death Watch more proportional, like an actual person, if the actual Space Marine existed, then shrunk proportionally. Unlike the some of the other squads we see
But
that are a little bit more squatty.
yeah,
So I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, the details on these models are pretty good.
Very nice.
But yeah, because I've got them not painted, but well, they're starting to look pretty decent, guys. I still need to highlight on the black a lot, but I'm going to be working on that probably tomorrow. So once all that is done, you guys are going to get to see we're filming a battle here with them and try to get that up there ASAP just so you can see how they work. But as always, guys, thank you so much
Please
for watching.
like and subscribe if you want to see
Yep.
more.
It means a lot to us, guys. Till then, till next time, guys. Take
Good
care.
night.